Oh, man, Auburn has a huge weekend regarding the transfer portal.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Dapping it up with me is Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us on this Friday edition of the show. And Darrell, you talk about this kind of this big weekend involving the transfer portals, kind of the last real, it feels like it's like kind of the last big weekend before school gets going again. But it's been a big talking point here and elsewhere. Like, Auburn needs more defensive linemen. Well, they will have the opportunity to check off several of those boxes this weekend. We'll talk about Terry Webb, the defensive lineman from Texas State, A.J. Hoffler from Clemson, Chris Murray from Sam Houston State. But we got to start with the most familiar name, Jeffrey M'ba, the former Auburn Tiger defensive lineman, the former Purdue defensive lineman. He's expected to be in Auburn this weekend.
Remember, they called him Thanos. He was a big get for Bryan Harsin. He was a JUCO kid. Let me just say this. I like the strategy and how Auburn is attacking this. To me, I think they felt like they needed to address off the offensive side of the ball first. Quarterback, offensive tackle, another receiver. They've done that. They did get a couple of defensive backs, and they got Dallas Walker. Now it looks like the focus and the shift has moved to the defensive side of the ball, and they're bringing in all these defensive visitors, and I love that. And I love – it would be a nice redemption arc if M'ba could come back on campus, because I thought he was extremely talented. I thought he was underutilized his first year. He showed flashes, but he's gained some maturity, some experience, some technique coaching at Purdue. I would love to have him back along the interior line, even if it's just to get into two deep, because I think he's a very talented kid.
I'm there with you. Listen, at 6'6", 302, you take that. I mean, this is exactly the kind of player that Auburn needs. And I don't think Jeffrey M'ba is a star, but I think he's a really solid P4 defensive lineman. And you look at what he did last year at Purdue, 608 total snaps last year is what I'm seeing. And the year before that, he played 284. Just for context, in 2022 at Auburn, he played just 82. So, I mean, this is a guy who left very inexperienced, but raw with a ton of upside. And now we've seen it kind of materialize to now he's a solid player, worthy of being in the starting rotation for an SEC team.
And that's what I love, because I think what it also does, you know, that the domino effect, I think it could leave Falk outside at defensive end. And I like that. M'ba could be a guy that could play a lot of snaps. You just mentioned it, and get in that two deep. Along with Blockton. Is he a backup to Blockton? Who knows? I think they're talking about using Dallas Walker at the nose. So there's some different intangibles here that could really help right away. He is very athletic, and if he plays 600 snaps at Purdue, maybe all you need him to do at Auburn is play 400, 350 to go along with Malik Blockton or some of these freshmen that may come in and help. Heck, Blockton played a lot. Why not some of these other guys? What, Jordan Crawford maybe coming in playing some snaps? So I don't know how it's all going to shake out. We'll know more in the spring. But I do know we need experienced defensive bodies. He's a good one to have with the amount of snaps, the familiarity, and I love his athleticism, and I love his size. I hope they lock him up very soon.
Yeah. I also just think it almost be a little bit symbolic, right? I mean, this is a guy that was one of the probably the second biggest recruiting win of the Bryan Harsin era. Like, it was a big deal when they got him, and he really liked Bryan Harsin, and obviously he left. But I think this would be kind of symbolic of saying, hey, you can always come back. Auburn will always have you back, and I think that's kind of a cool thing. Like, you saw that with Gage Keys, right? Like, Minnesota, Kansas, Auburn. He went back to Kansas because, he wanted to be back at Kansas, and he put out the thing like, my bad, I was tripping y'all or whatever. Like, I think it'd be a cool, similar thing with M'ba. Like, come on home. I would love that story.
I would too. I remember the commitment video with him really being emotional and hugging Bryan Harsin. and being so excited just to be here. So that's what shocked me. But then I guess he was very closely tied in with that. I don't know. I don't know the intangibles of that. I do know that playing for this current Auburn defensive line staff and maybe with Durkin would be a little bit different scenario, and it would be very exciting for him. And I think he would get developed. I do like the redemption arc. I do like him coming back home. And so that would be great. And
he would start at the 3 technique, right?
Correct. Start or
I don't know. I don't know who starts between him and Blockton.
Yeah.
But their total snaps are going to be close.
Exactly. You wouldn't have to wear Blockton out. You wouldn't have to. So I like that. And I don't know, situationally, is Blockton a better pass rusher, run blocker from an interior lineman? I don't know.
Yeah.
We can get into all that after A-Day and after spring ends. But, heck, if they could play similar amount of snaps and keep them both fresh. Can
you scoot Mba inside? I don't think he's a natural nose by any means. But in certain situations, I wonder if you could. But still, it gives you options, which is something that Auburn does not currently have.
Correct.
On the defensive line, for sure.
I love it. Yep. Hope it comes to fruition.
Yeah, it'd be great for Blockton too, just to have a guy like that he's playing under, because I think Mba kind of came in. They're almost opposites, right? Mba came in, all this hype of man, he's raw, but he's got the highest ceiling in the world, and Blockton, other than you, Darrell, I mean, you called Blockton, but most people kind of thought he'd be a few years until he really got going type player. And so they're kind of opposites as far as how they found production on the field. So I wonder if they could learn from each other there.
If there's a scenario where they both could be on the field at the same time, I like it. I think Auburn needs to get creative and find a way, especially if they both exceed at a high level when they're on the field splitting snaps. Then maybe you look at that and go, God, I'd like to get them side by side. But again, this Falk thing, keeping him outside, not having to move him inside, I do like that, and I wish they just leave him alone. So that could help.
And that's what makes getting Amaris Williams back so big. But then it's okay, well, if it's a pass rushing down and you want a Morris and Keldrick on the field, what do you do with them, buddy? You take them off the field? Do you put Blockton? Because Blockton's probably a better pass rusher than Mba anyway. So
you're assuming Keyron Crawford's on the other side at that point too.
Well, I'm assuming you put either between Keldrick or a Morris, one of them at edge and one of them at the 3 technique. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, the best part of this whole conversation and the speculation is options.
Yeah, so that's what Jeffrey Mba kind of represents is options, which is what Auburn needs. So there's an edge tandem that's expected to visit this weekend that I think is a little interesting, Darrell, and I want to kind of jump into this a little deeper with you in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Darrell, right now you can win your first $5 bet. And you know how much money you get? I'm going to guess.
Can I guess? Because I don't know. $250?
You did know. You did know.
I didn't know because it used to be $150. It changed.
They upped the ante.
Well, see,
a little bit
that's what I'm saying. Sportsbook. I mean, that's awesome to recognize upping the ante.
That's right. It's a new year. It's a new offer with FanDuel. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. So Auburn is expected to host Chris Murray and AJ Hoffler. Chris Murray is an edge/end defender from Sam Houston State. AJ Hoffler is a defensive end/edge player from Clemson. Both of these guys are listed at 6'4", 255, and both of them from a ratio standpoint, kind of when you look at where they played on the field, very, very similar type players. Chris Murray played more snaps than AJ Hoffler did. Is that because Hoffler played at a better school and the talent around him was better? I don't know. But to me, I can't see them taking both of these guys. I think there's room for one more edge in this room. And to me, like, if you have to put them next to each other, I would give a slight bump to Chris Murray, the Sam Houston State edge / end, over AJ Hoffler, the Clemson edge / end. But they're very, very close. And I can't see a world where Auburn gets both of them. I don't think they need both of them. Just kind of interesting. Like, do they bring them both on campus? And like, they probably are aware of the situation. Like, what does that look like?
Hoffler, more highly touted coming out of high school. He was only a freshman last year at Clemson. That was his first year. 4-star recruit. I believe Murray played at Houston, then Sam Houston, and now is looking into transfer. So he's an older guy with a couple of other stops. Probably why, obviously this statistic. So this is a classic example of whether you go for higher floor or higher ceiling. I think Hoffler has the higher ceiling, just being a freshman and playing limited snaps at Clemson, but comes in as a blue chipper, highly
He'd be a redshirt sophomore.
Okay,
and then it looks like he's played 2 years at Clemson.
Okay, and then Murray is a guy that's got a little more experience under his belt, albeit at a little bit lower level. Does he have the higher floor?
Yeah,
but maybe Hoffler 2 years from now has the higher ceiling. Great point about taking both. I think if you get an opportunity to take both, you do, just because of depth and injury and attrition and that kind of thing. I understand you're saying you don't need two in the room right now.
I don't know why they would both come here.
Well, Murray would come to upgrade from a Sam Houston to Auburn and play in the SEC. Hoffler may come here to think, well, I can get developed and play 2 or 3 years and improve my draft status. So for different reasons.
Maybe.
But you're right. Maybe Auburn just needs one, but then that makes it very intriguing. Which one? If you have both visit, you're wanting both. So which one at the end of the day would Auburn prefer? I don't know. I don't know. It's a mystery, but they want both. If they got both here, Murray was scheduled to come here first. So let's say Hoffler's coming after Murray. If they only wanted one, I don't know, maybe they would not host both. They would cancel one visit.
I don't know. Or you just kind of, you take as many shots as you can. You hope the right ones hit. Yeah, I would take them both. Like people, please don't mishear me on this. I just don't think that happens. Because I don't know how many snaps you can put them at edge or at end. I think these are edge guys. And whoever it is, they're going to back up Kieron. And at some point, it's like, well, what about Derek Smith coming in or Jared Smith coming in? What about Jamonta Waller coming back? What about Joe Phillips? Like, are we going to use DeMarcus Riddick on the edge at all, or is he going to strictly play linebacker next year? Like, I don't know. But to me, is there room for both of them to play? I would love to take them both because it makes Auburn's floor better. But I'd be a little surprised if both of them committed this weekend. I'd take it in a heartbeat, but I'd be a little surprised.
Yeah. With the guys that you mentioned, there's some excitement there with some of these freshmen now that'll be sophomores that are coming after Crawford and backing him up. You mentioned Waller. Who else did you mention as a backup? You mentioned behind Crawford.
We're expecting Joe Phillips.
Joe Phillips, yeah. Wow, it's a nice problem to have.
No kidding.
I don't know. You're right. You're going to have to sell the fact that there's going to be a lot of guys in the mix, and you're going to have to fight just to be second in the depth chart.
I think the Chris Murray, from a timing standpoint, makes sense. Because all the guys in the room, other than Kieron, are still so young. Chris Murray, I guess, would be the second youngest guy behind Kieron. And then, you've got a natural pecking order after that. If it'd be after Kieron, it'd be like Chris Murray, and then Jamonte and Joe, and then Smith coming in as a true freshman.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Jared Smith. I've been reading a lot of reports lately that he is the most SEC-ready edge or SEC that comes.
Do you see that rep that I posted on social media? It's smooth, man. It's smooth.
So you don't sleep on him getting a lot of playing time. So that's something to consider. With Jared Smith being probably ready to contribute and get some snaps, probably validates exactly what you're saying. They'll take one.
Yeah.
I don't see
we'll
Riddick
see.
playing edge. Riddick is ready. He is the rabbit guy. They call it the rabbit package. You can line him up inside, let him hit that gap and go. So,
yeah, I'm there with you. I just think it's interesting to see like how all they use Riddick, but with Auburn not adding any linebackers really up to this point, like you got to think he's going to be one of the main guys there, which he should be. He's certainly deserving.
And Barber's another guy, but anyway. DJ Barber.
Yeah. And, they need more Robert Woodyard moving forward as well. So we'll see. I guess that's going to be something they address in the spring, but we'll see. Another defensive lineman is coming in this weekend, and it's just they're loading up. Hey, maybe they get all four of them. Wouldn't that be great? But yeah, we'll talk about the last one in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Rocket Money. You recently used Rocket Money to help save some money. Yeah. It kind of it pulls up all of your subscriptions, and you're like, okay, I use that. I didn't realize I was still paying for that.
Well, the duplicate stuff too is what blew me away. I didn't realize there were a couple accounts that were duplicates. Then there was some antiquated, out-of-date stuff that I don't use. And it's amazing now that you and I started talking about it and I tried it, I'm seeing it all over everything as far as advertising on television and that. So it's validating my choice.
Yeah, it's there's no downside. There's no downside to try Rocket Money. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Final few moments of today's edition of Locked On Auburn. Zac Blackerby, Darrell Dapprich here with you. The fourth defensive lineman expected to visit this weekend, Terry Webb, defensive lineman from Texas State. His numbers are fine. 6'3", 310. So you got to assume you feel more comfortable putting him at nose, which is probably something that Auburn definitely needs, but I don't know. I think this would make the floor of the room better, but I don't know if it changes the ceiling, Darrell.
It had a little text exchange from some people I know at Troy that played against him, and that's exactly kind of the consensus was good depth piece. Wasn't a game changer or a game wrecker, when Troy saw him, but has some tools, is talented, would be a guy that you could plug and play. He's not going to be buried on the bench. He would get some snaps. He would get into the rotation, and that's what Auburn's looking for right now is some depth.
At Texas State, he played 3-tech. He played defensive tackle. He only played 5 snaps at nose all year. I just can't imagine that would be why they brought him in, unless he's like a backup if you don't get Mba.
A plan B type thing.
Yeah, which would make sense, which they've kind of shown themselves to do that before. The Auburn coaching staff they're always kind of preparing for if certain guys don't come through. So it's not a bad plan. If you don't get Mba and you get Terry Webb, it's like, okay, that's cool. Like at least you got another defensive lineman that's going through spring that you're expecting to have in 2025. It wouldn't be the end of the world. So it's fine. If you get Mba and Terry Webb, I'd be a little surprised once again. But once again, I would take it in a heartbeat just because you need the bodies. But curious to see what his realistic impact would be, Terry Webb.
Where is Quantrell Travis projected to play?
He played at nose last year because he kind of hopped Jason for a good chunk of the season.
So he may be your no starter, and Dallas Walker may back him up. But I would see, in my opinion, Travis and Walker splitting snaps like Mba and Blockton could. That's the scenario I think that Auburn would want. And then you could use Webb as a hybrid. Plug him in at nose, plug him in.
Be excited about that?
About the nose situation?
Would that get you fired up? Auburn's interior D-line?
I'm trying to be a little more 2025. One of my New Year's resolutions is to be a little more temper expectations a little bit, be a little more reserved. And not that I don't love to boog, I do, but I want to. It's more of a show me first. So yeah, the anticipation of that would be, I would be glad, I would be excited that it's better. I would think I would be pleased that the room got better. How much better and to what ceiling? I'm withholding judgment.
Yeah, you'd have to assume they're not done.
Right.
And you'd have to assume they're targeting some folks in the spring window to say, all right.
And that's big because you can get some guys. You can get some guys in the spring window. I'm trying to remember. It's been 3 or 4 years ago. Did Marcus Harris come in the spring window?
Who? I don't remember.
Because he was an immediate impact guy. You can still get guys. I mean, I know Echo Leota was. I know he was a spring dude because I remember watching a basketball game and looking down at my phone when Harsin got him to transfer from Northwestern. He was a spring guy.
If I remember correctly, was weird. He was one of the first to come and commit, but I don't think he went through spring.
No, that's what I'm saying. When I say a spring guy, he committed in the spring and got here in the summer and still made a heck of an impact.
I got you.
He committed. He committed when Auburn was playing Baylor in basketball with Sharif Cooper or whatever. And I remember looking down.
So that would have been the December window, but he didn't go through. He didn't go through spring. Yeah, he wanted to finish up at Northwestern or whatever. Yep. So yeah, we'll see. I like all 4 of these guys for different reasons. I would rather have them and not, given the current state of Auburn's defensive line and just it being thin. You can't have too many defensive linemen, but you need guys that raise the ceiling. I do think Mba raises the ceiling, and I like Chris Murray, the Sam Houston State edge of the 4 guys we've talked about today. Like he'd probably be the guy I'd be most excited about. Mba second, Hoffler third, Terry Webb fourth. I'd take all 4 of them because it's like, okay, all right, like at least we got enough bodies to go into the season if for whatever reason the spring doesn't work. But you need to get more. You need to get another. Assuming you got all 4 of them, I think you would still need to try to swing for the fences for a guy who can help you from a pass rush standpoint in the interior. And I think you still need multiple linebackers.
You absolutely need multiple linebackers at this point. And I think that Auburn had to do that 2 years ago when they went and got Asante. Well, Asante came back and was ready to go, but they got Mausi. No, it was the Austin Keys Tolan thing that didn't work out, the linebacker from LSU.
And then the North Texas linebacker.
The North Texas linebacker. I
forgot his name. Yeah.
Yeah, they went out and got 3, and it just really didn't work out. Last year's linebacking core did a little bit better as far as that. Mausi and
Larry Nixon the third.
Yeah. I don't remember. Is Gote gone?
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of an impact he really made this year as well, but I think Mausi did. Which
is kind of a bummer because, like, I think
I was high on him.
Like Gote could play. He just got here so late.
Well, that's my problem. I got too high on too many people. That's why I'm tempering my expectations. I got really excited about too many dudes. I don't think
it was the talent, though. Like, I don't think us being high on the talent was what made us wrong. I think it was scheme and coaching that made us wrong.
I was very excited about Keontae Scott when he came in as a JUCO. I was very excited about Jalen McLeod, which was justified. I was extremely excited about Bleedy. He played well.
Well, I just want to remind you, I told you to pause on Keontae.
You did.
You thought I was crazy.
You did. You did. And you told me, moving him outside. I was like, Keontae Island, all that. Yeah, that
would have been awesome. I wanted it to work. It just didn't happen.
It did not. So there you go. All
right. Yeah. So big weekend ahead. We'll see over under how many guys commit to Auburn this weekend. I'm saying
I think 2 also. Yeah, I'm taking 50%, and I'm predicting Mba and Murray.
Okay. I'm cool with that. I think that'd be my guess too. It'd be Mba for sure, and then I would say one of Murray or Hoffler. I hope it's Murray. I like him.
I'd be happy with either, but I'd probably a little bit more happy with Murray because Murray's got a little more experience.
Yeah, I think it's 2A, 2B. Like they're really similar players, which isn't a bad thing. Auburn needs another guy like that. So we'll see. Hey, what do you think? Let us know in the comments down below, or let us know at thebarnauburn.com. We're both in there pretty often throughout the day. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Well, I'm on X, DAP6410, Instagram, Darrell Dapp, with you a couple times a week. Also, the Saturday Missouri game tomorrow, we're going live with you. And then I want to mention this, been doing some things with Kyle Rush and Charlie 5. You've jumped on, Taylor Corn's jumped on. We're doing a little Sunday night show.
Yeah.
That's received some good, results for the barn that we're doing a video. So that works out good too.
Yeah, that's live every Sunday night. Just search the barn on YouTube and subscribe over there. Kyle posts the audio. I don't know if he posts it Sunday night or Monday morning, but be on the lookout for that as well. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.